Welcome to Class Act Coaching, a podcast for teachers and instructional coaches. This show is brought to you by the Southern Regional Education Board. At SREB, we believe every one of you deserves a coach. Whether you're inspiring students or guiding teachers, let our school improvement team be your coach this week. Hi, everyone. It's Ashley. Welcome back. This week, we've got another very special episode for you. So this time, Jason and Dan are going to sit down together and they are going to talk with an experienced instructional coach. She works in one of Georgia's largest school districts. For those of you who know Georgia, it's DeKalb County. So the way DeKalb County sets up their system, they've got about 200 coaches that help out about 6,500 teachers. So she's got a unique perspective of the world of coaching. And in this conversation, they are going to dive into how coaching cycles work at the coach level, why modeling is so powerful, and how DeKalb helps new coaches build trust and clarity in their roles. You're going to get a behind-the-scenes look at coaching. And this episode, while it is aimed a little at instructional coaches and school leaders, I think is still very helpful to the teachers out there, because you're going to really see how coaches work and what their role is and how they help you, which hopefully makes it a lot more comfortable when they come into your classroom. So that's all I have to say about it. I'm going to turn it over to Jason and Dan now.
Good morning, Jason. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Dan?
I am wonderful because today we have somebody who I've known for about 12 or 13 years, but no, even longer than that, maybe 15 years. We go way back. Kanisa Williams is somebody who started instructional coaching the same year I did, back in around 2009, I believe it was. And back then we were fresh out of the classroom, and former English teachers who got hired in DeKalb County to try to turn around some schools. And since then, we've both kept in touch, and I've been able to see her rise to be a district leader in charge of over 200 coaches. I shouldn't say in charge, but there's over 200 coaches in the district, and she sort of manages a subgroup of those coaches. So she is a coach of coaches in a big DeKalb County, big urban district in Georgia, DeKalb County school districts. And I thought we could bring her on today to talk about what district and school leaders can do to really leverage coaches to catalyze improvement. She's been doing it from a lot of different perspectives and a lot of different roles, and she has many years of experience. Shall we bring on Kanisa, Jason?
Yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait to talk to her again.
All right. Hey, Kanisa, how are you doing today?
Hey, Dan. Hey, Jason. Doing pretty okay. It's really rainy outside here. I mean, extremely wet. And so I'm just excited to be dry and ready to shake and bake.
I hear you. Let's shake it and bake it. So, Kanisa, tell us a little bit about your career. Tell us about your journey and what's brought you to this point in your life.
Okay. Well, I have been in education. This is my 23rd year. I started as an English language arts teacher in a high school, and I taught 9th through 12th grade. My love was American literature. As a result of all of this good stuff, I had the opportunity to move from teacher and department chair and all of those good things to academic coach. And I was an instructional coach for a few years, and then I transitioned to a district leadership position in school improvement in another district. And in that, I got an opportunity to see how the district connects with the state Department of Education and connects to the school to implement some school improvement processes and strategies so that we can move students. And from there, I went and served as an administrator at a high school. And then I came back to the world of academic coaching as a senior academic coach coordinator for my district. And here I am able to provide support to the wonderful academic coaches in the district. There are over 200 of them, and I am one of a team of 5 people who support, train, lift up, provide professional learning opportunities, guidance in work for this group of dynamic academic coaches.
Tell us a little bit more about your role. What are so you talked about you do professional development for your coaches. Give us a little more specifics about currently what your main responsibilities are in what you do now.
So support is provided to the academic coaches at a district level. We get all 200 plus coaches together and we think about what their needs could be based on the current needs and strategic plan in the district. We think about what coaches say that they need. We always provide some sort of survey and get some feedback about what their needs, desires, asks are in the current moment, what is pressing. And so we take that information and from that, we develop something called Academic Coaches Academies. So every other month, they have an Academic Coaches Academy where all of the people come, all of the academic coaches. And then if there were a need or a desire, let's say in language arts or math or social studies, science, whatever they said that they needed, and whatever the data says that we need some backup or support in, we have those individuals within our district or we contract outside of the district for people to come in and provide that support. So they have academic coaches academies, but then we have these sort of micro groups where the 5 of us have a sort of an assigned group of academic coaches that we support out of the 200 plus coaches. We meet with those academic coaches based on the needs of the area or region that they support. So we meet with the region leaders to determine what those needs could be. And we base our observations of what their work looks like in the region. And we provide some professional learning opportunities for real conversations in safe spaces for them to hash out any obstacles, any barriers, anything that they need. We try to address it in the smaller group sessions that we meet. So 1 month we do an Academic Coaches Academy, and that's with all of the coaches. The other month we do a smaller group with our assigned coaches, and that sort of professional learning. But not only do we provide professional learning, we go into the schools side by side with the academic coach. We observe them in their craft and we provide feedback and we have one-on-one conversations with them about how we can best support them in their work. So any challenges that they come across, any ways that they want to just improve or just get better. If they're doing something, they're like, this works, but I just want to take it this up a notch. Can you come and see this thing? Then we provide that one-on-one support as well.
I'm wondering, you said you survey, teach your coaches, and you're constantly getting information from them about what they need, what they want. What are some of the biggest needs and requests for support, for professional development, for just like, hey, can this be one of our topics? Like, what are you hearing as the biggest need and desire for growth and help from your coaches?
So recently we had a rollout of the new math standards, and we are currently having the ELA standards are absolutely new. And next year will be the first year of implementation for them. And so a lot of their support, anytime something is new and fresh, then they are so proactive that they're trying to get ahead of the game, even sometimes before it comes to them. Like, they're just in development. We're just reviewing this. Like, slow down, just slow it up a little bit. Let's see how we can take it and chunk this information. So I would say one of the greatest needs would probably be about standards implementation rollout and just making sure that they understand what the ask is through the standard before they're able to provide that support to the teachers, or showing them ways that they can both learn together. Like, this is new to all of us. So how can we build and fly and try to understand the inner workings of the standards? But the other thing is managing the work and the time and balancing the expectations for the role of academic coach exclusively with all of the other mandates and asks and everything else that comes on their plates inside of their school building. So yes, we want you to coach and we want you to do it a specific amount of time, but you also are very much a part of your school. And we always say that school is school. And we always say that we understand that there may be things that you are going to have to do that don't always look exclusive to academic coach work, but it's absolutely a part of your work in your day-to-day inside of your school buildings.
So that's a concern of we'll dive into the first one sometime, but let's dive into the second one for a little while because that is a problem. As a coach, when I was a building coach, I certainly got pulled in 1,000 different directions sometimes and felt I was never instructional enough. And I see that as an issue facing coaches. What's the CAB stance on that? What's your stance on percentages and how you maybe minimize the non-instructional stuff?
So our stance is that academic coaches spend 80% of their time on things exclusive to academic coaching, and we call those things heavy coaching actions. So at the beginning of the year, we try to make sure that everybody is clear about what that 80% looks like. And what we do is we have put all of the expectations for the work of the academic coaches in something that we call a coaching playbook. And so the coaching playbook is the coaching Bible for the work of the academic coach within our district. And everybody, the academic coach and the principal, receives a copy of this coaching playbook. Inside of the coaching playbook, there is a whole section about managing the work and what that looks like.
Tell us about the coaching playbook.
Yeah, tell us about that. Yeah.
Okay. So the coaching playbook just is an outline of the work that we expect of the academic coaches. It talks about the 80%. It talks about how they document their work. It talks about the expectations for how they support teachers and what teachers they support. It talks about how they manage what instructionally they should be working on inside of their buildings based on the content that they support. It talks about planning their workout each day and what that looks like. So back to the managing the work piece. We want that 80% to be comprised of about 45% of the time. Yes, coaches should be observing and providing feedback, yes. And yes, they should be a part of collaborative planning or professional learning communities or all of those good things. And yes, they should be providing professional learning. But ultimately, they should be in partnership with the teacher, helping to build that teacher's capacity. And the way that they're going to do that is through co-teaching, through modeling, through observing that practice after you've modeled, after you have gone in and you are co-teaching with that teacher. Then you observe and you provide feedback. You give them an opportunity to observe you and provide feedback and provide you with feedback as the academic coach so that you both can get better. So 45% of their work should be around modeling, co-teaching, and observing.
So
Okay.
let's say you get a phone call
Mm-hmm.
and I say, hey, Kanisa, it's me, Coach Dan Rock at X high school. So we read the book. The principal has the book. Right now, she has me planning the parent night. And she has me creating the big bulletin board. And he wants me to also organize the teacher appreciation lunch, as well as the clubs, be in charge of monitoring the clubs, right? And helping teachers make sure they have time for that. And it's cutting into my time. I need your help communicating with my principal about what's in the playbook and how to make that without making him angry at me. I want to be a team player. I want to be supportive. I want to be part of the administrative leadership team. But I also know that I'm not following through on what it says in the playbook. What is your response to that?
So that happens more often than you would believe. There are maybe about 2 approaches that we would take. So the last step would be for me to, or members of the team, to go and speak directly with the principal about some of the concerns that have been raised or that we've seen based on what the coach has documented in their coaching tool. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, at some point today. But initially, we would talk about with the academic coach, hey, how about if we go from this angle? Let's talk about all the things that you have planned and how you plan to incorporate some of the things that the principal is asking you to do while still keeping the main thing. So having a conversation with your principal about this morning, I'm going into Miss Jenkins' classroom and I'm going to go into Mr. Thomas's classroom. Later on, I had planned on doing this observation and I planned on modeling in Mr. Thomas's classroom. I would like to continue to keep this as my focus And I'm going to spend about 30 or 45 minutes later on this bulletin board, and I'm going to pull Miss Suffolk to assist in the development of the presentation for the parent activity that we need to do. So I think that the important thing to do is to to have some regular conversations. I see that it happens less when there is a solid relationship or rapport built with the principal, where there is constant communication about what I am doing as academic coach to support teachers. When I hear that you're actually in there doing things that are tied to instruction that could benefit the students in the building, because achievement is going to be raised as a result of what is happening. When I see that and I hear teachers talking about the work that they've had with the academic coach, when I hear that as principal, as leader, then I am more inclined to be more protective of your time, because we are having regular conversations. So the first thing that I'm going to do in order to put out the fire is to make sure that the academic coach has communicated with the principal that these are the 2 or 3 things that I'm really focused on this week, and that while I am going to be able to work on these other things that you've asked me to do, this is when I would like for you to protect my time to be able to do those things so that I can still do the work of the academic coach. That would be the first part. Now, if that doesn't work, if it doesn't go, because pretty much if your principal says that this is what I need you to do, sometimes we're going to have to do those things. And the coaching piece may not be where we want it to be for that piece of time. But when we regularly communicate with the principal and we establish that or start some sort of regular communication as a result of having to do these particular things that aren't necessarily tied to coaching, then hopefully it gets better. Now, if none of that works, then we're in there and we're saying, listen, we know this, because you have to be very careful with the wonderful leaders of the schools that we support. But we talk about keeping the main thing. We know that when we met earlier this year with you, you said that you wanted to improve student achievement. You said that you got this coach to do these things, and we want to work in partnership with you to make that happen. But when we have things that aren't necessarily tied to this role, based on what you said that you agreed with, that you were on board with, then we have to see what changes we can make. So, Principal A, how can we support you in supporting this academic coach in doing this work? Yes, we know that this time he or she needs to work on these tasks that you have provided. But next week, it shouldn't look like that, correct? And most of the time, those conversations go quite well. They get a little sticky, but we come to an agreement when we have to intervene and have a conversation with the principal.
Well, it sounds like you're giving them 20% of their time to do that kind of stuff that's not academic, but
Yes.
that 80% on heavy coaching moves,
Yes.
right? And can you talk about how you mentioned a monitoring tool, a little bit about that?
Yes. So the academic coaches have something called an instructional coaching tool that we use with them. And essentially every single day, they log into our platform and they enter what they did, who they worked with, what professional learning was provided, what instructional support was provided, who were they co-teaching with, what classrooms were they observing, where did they attend or facilitate collaborative planning? Did they work on something that was outside of the 80%? Were they on duty for whatever? Like whatever you can think of that they did during the day, they capture that work in something that we call an instructional coaching tool. And pretty much they say, this amount of time I spent on these tasks, I was modeling for 3 hours today. I was co-teaching. I was in collaborative planning for 2.5 hours on this day. So pretty much most of my day was modeling and facilitating collaborative planning. And when they do that, it kind of tabulates how they use their time. So by the end of the week, we get an idea of if that 80% threshold was met and if they didn't use their time appropriately. And let's just say that they did not use their time appropriately. The tool is specifically and exclusively a document that is used between the coach and the senior academic coach coordinator. It is not something that is shared with the principal or other members of anything. It is specifically so that we can coach the coach.
Yeah. If I'm a coach, I want to be very honest about that because I want to communicate if we're getting off track, right? And so that we can be proactive in you and me as the coach collaboratively problem solving and hit those before it gets out of control, before any off like that. If that percentage is off, we can work together in trying to deal with that.
Absolutely. And just to be very clear, it's our proactive tool. It is not punitive. If they feel like, oh my goodness, I realized this week all I did was, I don't know, just things that and it was not coaching. Okay. Not coaching this week. So then we're like, okay, so how can we help you? What is this? We need to do a better job of, yes, we captured this work in this coaching tool of what you did for the day, but what is your plan for the work that you're going to do? So now we need to be proactive even more and look at how you're planning your day. What do you foresee this week looking like? You just did these observations. What is the result of these observations that you did in these math classrooms? What did you see? Who was doing what they were supposed to do? Who needed some support? Who was doing what they were supposed to do, and that you could lift up and build, and they could be a model for someone else. So you capture this data, and so you use that information to plan for the next week. I recognize this. These are the teachers that I might need to plan with so that we can model next week. And if you have a plan for the week coming, that is something that could be shared with your principal.
So
Okay.
it sounds like calendaring is a
Yes.
vital tool of coaches to ensure that they get to this 80%.
Absolutely.
I want to change topics real quick. I'm thinking about I work at a school and there's always going to be a spectrum of teachers, right? There's teachers who take everything that's given to them and soar with it. And there's new teachers who are hungry and are excited about learning. There's teachers who have a track record of success. You talk about 200 plus coaches and maybe 6,500 teachers. So each coach has to figure out who to work with and how much time to spend. How does DeKalb County, or in your role, how do you support teachers, coaches in determining who to work with and how long to spend with those teachers?
So I'm glad that you asked that, Dan.
Oh,
So academic coaches are responsible for the teachers inside of their building. While we have 200 coaches and there are absolutely over 6,500 teachers in the district, academic coaches work with their respective schools that may have 40 to 100 teachers in their building. All right. And academic coaches work with their particular content areas unless they are the sole academic coach in their buildings. So either way, it can be quite heavy. So how do you channel or focus the work? What are we doing here? What we do is we have something called a tiered system of support. And essentially, we have the coaches enter all of the teachers that they have in their buildings, and we have them list them on this spreadsheet. And then we have them to, just for the first couple weeks of school or at the initial rollout of their improvement strategy, whatever it is that they're focused on in their buildings, we have them pretty much go through the coaching cycle where they're observing and collecting data on what this looks like. And from that and the listing of all their teachers, they tier their teachers. And the tiering means, I guess it's sort of like an inverted MTSS pyramid, kind of, but we have 4 tiers. Tier 1 is the teacher is shaking and baking. All right. Tier 2, they're doing pretty okay and they get some modified coaching support. Tier 3, they need intensive coaching. In Tier 4, they get the full coaching model. And what I mean is, at Tier 1, these teachers, you kind of go and check on them and see how things are going. You might do some observations and provide them with some feedback and follow up, but it is not as intensive. It's periodically, if you will. Tier 2, you probably see these teachers, while you might see them daily, you might intentionally go in, provide some support maybe every other week. But that Tier 3, you're going to see them weekly. And Tier 4, you're going to see them 2 or 3 times per week. So these teachers have been tiered. And what do we mean? This is not exclusive to the academic coach only. This is an instructional effort in the building. So this means that you are with the department chairs, if you will. You are with the leadership team, the principal, the assistant principal, whoever's responsible for that department. And you're having some wonderful conversations about where you want instruction to go in your building and what you have collectively seen and who needs collective support based on what you guys have seen, based on the student data, based on the teacher data, based on all of the pieces together, having a real conversation. You tier the teachers 1 through 4.
How do I have a conversation with a teacher to say, I'm going to be here a lot because it's clear that you need a lot of help?
Okay.
Like, that's a tough conversation because
It is.
what you're describing it's probably not a secret, right? That there's tiered teachers. And so in the
teachers
district,
know what tier they're on?
So it just depends because tiers are fluid. Let me just say that.
they know
So-
there are tiers though. So they're
Yes.
thinking like, oh, I guess I'm on tier 4. Oh boy.
If I'm getting visited 2 times a
Yeah.
week by people,
just
right?
saying, let me
I
just
guess
make
it's
this one point.
self-evident by the number of
Yeah.
visits.
I want to tell this quick story. My wife is a teacher and she got low scores once. And the principal was like, I want you to meet with the coach. And she was not happy about that. It hurt her feelings because she thought she was doing a great job, so on and so forth. And so that's what brings that up. Like, I can just see that being awkward to feel like I'm tier 4. Okay. Tell us about it, Kanisa.
Okay, so the great thing is that tiers are fluid, all
Yeah.
right? And so tier 4 just means additional support. And many times it means additional support because we just want you to be amazing, all right? And so it doesn't necessarily mean that they are not doing what they should be doing or that they need support for a negative reason. Let me just say this. And so, or for what they would perceive as a negative reason. All right. Ultimately, our overall goal is increased student achievement, but also we want teachers to stay in our building. All right. We want them to come back to the schools that they are working in and say, yes, I would love to work here. So the rollout of the tier, yes, teachers may know, let me be very clear, they may know that there is a tiered system of support, depending on how the principal rolled out this tiered system. If they are tier 4 and it is for whatever, we just encourage the coach if they're in collaborative planning or if they are in an area or a space where there are lots of teachers that they're just talking about the ways that they're going to be providing support inside of the department in the building. And what I mean is, if we go from this lens, then me being there because I'm already observing, I'm already modeling, I'm already doing all of the things. So my presence in the building doesn't necessarily feel like, in all cases, punitive. I am in the building as a source of support.
Yeah.
So it has happened a variety of ways within the district, again, because each building is kind of different in the way they roll things out. Sometimes the principal says, listen, this is what we're doing. You might get some extra support if we have a need. If we are in here and this is not working the way that we want it to work, then the coach is going to be providing lots of support inside of your classroom. And that's the way that we rolling in here. All right. But there are times when it is a more gentle approach where the coach just says, listen, while I was in your classroom, we are working on CRA, what's that? Concrete representational abstract in our math classrooms. And when I was in there the other day, we already debriefed and you know that I'm going to be working with you. We got a model together, so we're going to be planning together, and you're going to see me more often as we work through this particular phase. So at least for the next 2 weeks, we're going to be neck and neck. We're going to be lockstep in whatever it is that we are trying to accomplish.
So
It just
I might
depends
say
on the
I'm a
rollout.
tier 1. Yeah, I might say I'm a tier 1. Not tier 1. Okay. It might just be for a short period of time where
Yes.
I'm working with you on this. I'd like to really, I really want to dig down on this. And
Yes.
I really think you can be successful in this practice. I see it, but I really want to work closely with you. And so you can make it very positive. And also it sounds like the tier can also be kid-centric. So if I'm at a school, I might have a class of students who are just a really struggling low performing group and so that might be my tier because I know you have these students who are just driving you crazy or just aren't making the gains you want. And I believe that I can help you make gains.
Yes, I think that the approach is key. So what we don't want to do is we always want the work of the academic coach to come from the lens of support. Academic coaches are not assistant principals. They're not evaluative. They are only coming from the lens of support. So we try to be very careful in our approach to using the tiered system of support to make sure that it is coming from a space of improvement and becoming better. So we ask that they approach it from the potential of the teacher and not from the deficit. So if we know that we're struggling in this particular area, we're going to make sure that our entry point is as positive and optimistic as possible so that it doesn't feel punitive. Now, there is this piece, every teacher who is tier 4 who needs that intensive support, where they go through the DCSD coaching cycle. If you're tier 4, you have to have something called a plan of support. It is not something that we encourage to be shared directly with the teacher. It is just a capturing of the work that the coach is doing with that teacher that is intensive. Like, I know that I was in here 25 million times working with this teacher over this period of time, and you capture a student goal and a teacher goal. You share with the teacher, hey, what do you want? When we were in your classroom the other day, 17 students, 17 of the 24 students, they were either asleep or off task. We got to do something different because I could see that you were stressed. When we came in, it was stressing you out that so many were off task. So we know that this might be an area that we need to improve. What do you see happening over this? How can I support you in that? And hopefully there will be some response that says, listen, I don't know. I'm tired. I'm just over the people in the classroom. I thought that I wanted to come to education, but this is wearing me out. So whatever you can do, let's figure out this plan. And when they're vulnerable and they're able to do that, then the coach is able to get some traction and implement a few of the strategies that might be wigging that teacher out to help them to get better. So that tiered system of support is not punitive. And it is either the principal can set the stage for the way that it is delivered, but the coach can kind of ease it in to make it feel like a regular part of the coaching process so that it doesn't feel so pressure filled. Now, there are some times where you got to lay the heat. You know, you're going to get this support, and that comes from the principal.
I feel like that what I really like, I like how you continually say it's not punitive, it's supportive. We know that teachers are, and you said your goal is to keep the teachers in the building. And I can picture principals I work with being able to sell this well, and so that teachers see it as support. And we know from surveys that they're leaving teaching most commonly not because of money, but because they don't feel support. And so this could be an avenue sold well. Do you have any stories of a principal that has sold this, like where they're nailing it?
So yes, I have found that it goes well. Okay, so 2 quick examples. One, the principal that I am thinking of, she was an instructional coach. And so she understood the work, she understood the role, she understood all of those things. So at the beginning of the school year, she sat down with the coaches. She talked about what she envisioned for her building. She asked them what they envisioned, and they came together to come up with whatever their improvement strategies were. They developed the plan together. Not only that, at the beginning of the school year, she talked to the staff, the faculty and staff, about her arms, the extensions of her and the vision for instruction in her building, and how the coaches were an extension of who she was as a leader. And that they were going to be coming in, she set the stage for it not being punitive, that they were coming to provide support. She talked about what their expectation was for teaching and learning in the building, what the expectation from the coach would be. She gave the coaches an opportunity to introduce themselves. So she kind of just set the stage. so that the teachers felt like, okay, there are some people in the building. The principal has vouched for them. So, for real, they're like, okay, so we know we can't really play with these people. We can't pull anything over their eyes because she has endorsed their work. So that means that she's going to be supporting them. So I think that is a very successful way. And I think that it happened as a result of her having coached before. Now, the other example was a gentleman who never had a coach and never was a coach. So coaching was new in the building for him. It was a new experience for him. He never had them in his previous buildings, any of those things. And so once he sat down with us and talked about the role of the coach and the expectation of the coach based on the framework for DeKalb County, he just bought all the way into it. And so he presented the work to the faculty and he told the coaches, y'all tell me what we what we need to focus on. Like, I know that I have this instructional goal, but you're in there boots on the ground every single day. So you have a very clear picture. I'm going to come alongside you so that we are able to see the same things, calibrate, and talk about this work. So then when the teacher saw the principal and the coach coming, when the principal was a part of the collaborative planning, when the principal was a part of all the things with the coach and they were having some conversations and teachers could see it, then the teachers felt like, okay, now when we're getting this feedback, it pretty much sounds like one person is giving it, even though it's a collective body. So I'm going to say that them coming together as a team and being a united front in front of the teachers helps the teachers feel more supported and know, okay, well, this is my evaluator. This is the person who's going to help me get to where I need to go on this evaluation, because they're going to allow me a safe space to mess up, make mistakes, and then help me through the mistakes without it being evaluative, without it being punitive, without it being any of those things. This is my coach.
I bet that helped grow him as an instructional leader too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it is important for the leaders to see themselves as coaches.
Yeah.
Like, the leader is the coach. You coaching the whole thing. We just your assistant coaches, helping to go through the plays of everything that's happening. We are an extension of you.
That's a good line. I'm going to use that one day. I like that. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to tell the principal, you're the head coach.
Yes.
I'm your assistant coach. And I'm going to help, my job is to make you help you win this game. All right. I got two quick topics I'd like us to kind of lightning round on this, Kanisa.
Okay.
So we're going to ask you two questions, and I want you just kind of to give me the quick and dirty.
Okay, so this is like $25,000 pyramid. I'm ready.
Okay.
Lightning round.
So, hey, I call you up. I'm a coach, and I say, I've got this tier 3, 4 teacher, and he is not interested in changing. He believes what he's doing is working despite the data, and he really has no interest in making and following up on my suggestions. I make recommendations and he does not follow what I say. Can you give me some advice?
Keep going. Don't give up. When you're going in, focus on one little thing that you want to see an improvement in and work only in that particular area. So for this teacher, even though there might be 25,000 things that are just not what they need to be, focus on the one thing. That would be my first piece of advice. The second thing would be, if this is a teacher who is resistant to your coaching, this is an opportunity for the conversation with your admin team about what is happening. So they need to go in and do some observations as well. You guys partnering, they could do it as a department so that teacher does not feel targeted. All right. So you're going to go and get an idea of what's happening in social studies or whatever the subject is. All right. And then from that, the principal or the assistant principal is going to have a conversation collectively with the teachers like, listen, we got to get this together. And this is what we saw in your classroom, such and such.
I want the English team to work on rigor, or I want to work on formative assessment, or work on management, or closing your classrooms. But you ought to work on that. And Miss Williams is going to be following up with you. And I look forward to seeing how you guys are going to be implementing this I can't wait to hear about how much this improves.
I really like that. because you're not telling the principal to go view this one teacher, but you're saying, hey, let's go look at this department. And then that change.
Of
So you're not
course,
calling out the teacher, right?
then you've
That's
got
great.
then you've got me who's like, my thing is perfect. Why am I involved in this? But we won't go.
Mhm.
They can suck it up.
Absolutely. And then if you see it, then the principal can have a really direct conversation with that particular teacher. Like, listen, we saw all of these things, but in your class, this is happening and you will be receiving support from such and
Right.
such should it get to that space. And also, what we have found has been quite beneficial. It is now a new company. It is no longer titled the same thing, but we provide swivels to all of the academic coaches. So all academic coaches get a swivel. And well, all schools that have academic coaches, if it's 5 coaches, it's just one swivel.
And just real fast, swivels are cameras that have a microphone that you wear around your neck, and the camera follows you as you walk around.
Yes. Yes. And so anyway, it's just a recording device. And we encourage them to use them to kind of record 10-minute lessons or just anything. And we tell them to build capacity by using their stronger teachers first, or someone who is just open to it. It might not even be their strongest teacher, but to get in and ask them, listen, can I record this? And can we use this during our collaborative learning session? You really did this well, and I want the world to see it. So they go in from that lens first. So then when we're showing this, we're only talking about the great things that we saw and giving feedback on the great things that we saw, even if we saw crazy stuff happening. Only the good things initially when we're rolling out using this video of the lessons, because the videoing of the lessons is a scary concept. All right.
I want a closing question.
Mhm.
How do I know as a coach in DeKalb County if I'm doing a good job? I'm coming to you, Kanisa, and I want to show you that my coaching is having an impact on instruction. Or the district is asking, what are these DeKalb coaches? Are they working? Are they having an impact? What are some things that you use to show, or that your coaches use to show a principal, a teacher, a district leader, a school board member, that this program is having an impact?
That's a great question. I think that one of the things that we do is take the data, not the tool itself, but the data from the tool to show that this percentage of time coaches are able to get in and do this work 80% of the time. So if we find that is 76% of the time, coaches are able to get into their classrooms for that 80%. And as a result, here is the student data, that the improvement in the student achievement outcomes that we can see each month. Academic coaches, okay, so schools have a consolidated school improvements plan, or a CSIP, or continuous improvement plan. All right. So inside of it, there are goals that they set. All right. Regarding the implementation of some improvement strategy. And it is tied to the work of the academic coach. Okay. So every month, the academic coaches, they do observations. They do it collectively with their teams. And so based on these observations, they're able to have a quantifiable measure of the implementation of that improvement strategy. Schools are also charged with having something called a common formative assessment that we call CFAs. So all of these pieces, the academic coaching tool, the actual student outcome or achievement data, their tiered system of support and how teachers move fluidly through each of the tiers, the number of teachers that they were able to move from tier 4 to tier 3 to tier 2 to tier 1, or how this teacher who came in as a new teacher who had no experience, but now they are returning, the retention rate. All of these things help to demonstrate the impact of the work of the academic coaching program. The individual academic coach, the improved student achievement outcomes, the level of retention in that particular building, the capturing of the implementation of the CSIP improvement strategy, whatever their improvement strategy is, teacher feedback. So we charge them with doing some qualitative data based on their support in their buildings at the middle of the year and at the end. How am I doing? How is this support working? All of this, we kind of capture that at the end to give an overwhelming Yes, this is working. We like this person in the building. This is a good fit. This is not that great of a fit. All of that helps us to determine and monitor the impact of coaching.
I'm hearing you talk about CFAs. That's a system that to measure common formative assessment for student learning, time, what percentage of time people are actually supporting teachers. And you talked about teacher surveys and hearing that and doing it twice, right? So it's not just summative at the end, but I can do it in the middle, make adjustments, and then move forward. And I also heard you talk about their CFIP, so the actual school improvement goal. Is the school moving towards its goals? So there's multiple measures there to see, and many of those, what's important, are mid-year. So I can make adjustments and I can use that as a feedback loop to make changes. So, Kanisa, is there anything else you want to share with us that we haven't talked about your role or about the keys to having a successful coaching program in a school or district?
Sure. I think that the key to having a successful coaching program is in the same way that we encourage principals and academic coaches to connect. It is the same way that we try to work with our district leaders. Here we have region superintendents or area superintendents, as well as the head honcho, our superintendent. And we also have division heads. And we try to make sure that each area and each division is aware of the role and the work of the academic coach, because sometimes the lines get blurry. And that coaching role is so important to moving student achievement and building teacher capacity. It's so important. So making sure that there is clear understanding and constant communication helps to strengthen the program, to get the buy-in from a leader who is a fan of the work of the academic coach. Getting the buy-in by regular communication with all the parties so that we are one band, one sound. Is it perfect? No. But it is a great step in the right direction.
Communication, transparency, goal setting, measurement, relationships.
Being on the same page, right?
Yes.
Vision, a clarity of vision.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
At the top and also in the trenches.
Yes. And I do think that is an absolute opportunity for growth, but I think that we are constantly trying to make sure that the messaging about the work is in people's faces. So anytime we get an opportunity to share, we're absolutely going to share about the work of the academic coach because we want to make sure that it's there. When I tell you that I talk a lot, but I had a whole good time on this podcast today, thank you for inviting me to participate. I truly enjoyed myself, and I learned every time that Dan or Jason opens their mouth about the work of academic coaching, just about the work in general. I learned something every single time. So thank you for pouring into me, and thank you for allowing me an opportunity to share just an inkling, even though I really did talk a lot,
Well,
but
we
just
look
an
forward
inkling.
to- We'll see you
Well,
at
and
the coaching conference and
Yep.
in New Orleans. Jason?
but I was going to say, speaking of sharing, Lisa will be sharing her wisdom along with some of your other coaches at the Coaching for Change conference and the Making for Schools Work conference. It's here, coming up in the next couple months.
Yes, looking forward to it. The coaching team, the academic coach, senior coordinators of DeKalb County will be bringing that fire and blow the whistle. We're going to be blowing the whistle big time on all of the things related to coaching to help maneuver and make it work. And then also we're going to discover the case of the missing impact. So come out to our sessions. We think we'll have a great.
Awesome. All right, we'll see you there.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Class Act Coaching, brought to you by the Southern Regional Education Board. SREB is a nonprofit dedicated to improving education from pre-K all the way to PhD and into the workforce. Visit sreb.org for resources on instructional practices, teacher data, career pathways, and more. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook at SREB-School Improvement and on Twitter/X and Instagram, both at SREB Education. See you next week.